Hello, good people, and welcome back to Marion Crochets. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Consider to subscribe. I am so excited to be back with another tutorial, and in this video, this is the dress that we will be making. I'm so in love with it, and especially how it was modeled and styled. Please leave a comment in the comment section below telling me what you love the most about this dress. These are the materials that we will be using during this tutorial. For my hook, I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook. I have a number of stitch markers which are very important during this project. You also need your darning needle that will help you to weave in ends, and a pair of scissors to cut your yarn. This is also very important, a measuring tape, and for this you will need your waist measurements, your hip measurements, bust, the length of the dress, and the sleeve length. For my yarn, I am using Winter King. This is 4-ply. This is a local brand here in Kenya, and it produces 100% acrylic. This is medium weight, but in case you don't have medium weight, like for this color, I do not have medium weight. I will be doubling the strands to achieve medium weight. So if I double these strands, it's equivalent to this weight. Okay, so for my colors, I'm using maroon, burnt orange, I have this in nude, and then a white. So once you have your colors, you can grab your materials and we can get right into the video. This is the stitch pattern that we are using for this dress. I have already done one of the panels because we are going to be working in panels. Now, to attain the measurements, I am going to be using the hip measurements because we are going to construct this dress from the bottom heading to the top. So the first measurement that you are going to be using is the hip measurement, and for my work I am using 22 inches. Now this stitch uses a multiple of 18. I chained my first chain 90, which is a multiple of 18, and then I added 6 inches. Remember, we are working with multiple of 18 plus 6 stitches, not inches, but 6 stitches. So now to attain 22, which is half of the hip measurement, her hip measurement is 44, but I'm going to start with 22 inches, which constitutes the first panel. I am going to chain 90. So grab your hook and your yarn, let us start. And remember, you're using your measurements. So get your measurements and then you can chain however much, but just remember we're using multiples of 18 and then we add 6 stitches. So you are going to grab your first color. Mine is maroon. I'm going to start with the maroon, and then get your hook and you're going to make a slip knot just how I've done, and then I am going to chain 90, and this is how we do a chain. You yarn over, pull through the slip knot, yarn over, pull through the chain that you've just made, and you're going to continue chaining as you count. Remember, I'm doing 90, so I'm going to chain 90 stitches and I will meet you once I'm done. So I've done my 90, and when I put on my tape measure, it gives me around actually 23 inches, but this is not a bad thing. If I did 18 less, it would have given me way less than 22 inches, which wouldn't fit my measurements. So as you chain, always put it on your measuring tape to ensure that you are achieving the right number. Now I have 90, and we said we're doing a multiple of 18 plus 6. So I'm going to add 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if you look at this stitch pattern, you will notice that it's a ripple, so it has the peaks and the valleys. So we need to, as we are constructing, we'll be making the valleys and the peaks and the valleys and the peaks. So this is the part where I need you to be very careful, because I want to explain how exactly we are going to be achieving this. Now we are going to count 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these 5 stitches, we will leave them out and go into the 6th and do a double crochet. Remember, we have skipped 5, and in the 6th, this is where we are going to work the first granny stitch, and a granny stitch is worked with a cluster of 3 double crochets. So this is the first double crochet. We do the second double crochet and the third double crochet, and then we skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. In the third, we are going to do another cluster. So 1, 2, and 3, and then you skip the next 2 stitches and go into the third and work 1, 2, 3. Once we have a total of 3 clusters, we are ready to work our first valley, and so we are going to skip 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go into the 6th and make a cluster. So a cluster comprises of 3 double crochets, 2 and 3. Okay, and now we will always work a peak here, but this is a valley at the moment. And now I want to work another 2 clusters, skip 2 stitches, go into the next and work 3 double crochets, 2 and 3, and go skip 2 and go into the next and work another 3 double crochets, sorry, 3. And once you have that, we are ready to work our next. You see, this is a peak, this is a valley. We are ready to work our next peak here, and to work a peak we will always chain 3, 2, 3, and in the same stitch we are going to work a stitch there. So we add 3 double crochets, 2 and 3 in the same stitch to form that peak. So once you have that worked, you are ready to now go down and work 2 clusters. So we will skip 1, 2, go into the third and work a cluster. So 1, 2 and 3, skip 2 double crochets and go into the third and work another granny stitch. So you notice we are giving it 1, 2, 3, and then do a peak. 1, 2, 3. We now need to work a valley, and to do this we are going to skip 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, not 3 but 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go into the 6th and work a granny stitch. So 1, 2 and 3. So when we are skipping 5 stitches, and when we are chaining at the peak, we are chaining 3 stitches. So I'm going to continue and work 1. So the next 1, 2, 3. In the third we are going to put a granny stitch, and then after we have that, we will go forth and work another granny stitch, because they're supposed to be 3. 1, 2. In the third we are doing another granny stitch. 1, 2, 3. To confirm what we had previously, we had a valley, so we are ready to do a peak. I'm going to chain 3, and in the same stitch we are working another granny stitch. So 2 and 3, right? And then to continue, we are going to go down and work 2 more, and then now we can work a valley. Okay, so once I have that, 1, 2, go into the third and work a granny stitch, 2 and 3, and then we are going to skip another 2 and work a granny stitch in the next 1, 2, and 3. And once we have that, we are ready to skip our 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go into the next and work 1, 2, 3, right? So this is what you should have. I'm going to work off camera using the same pattern until we get to the end. So now I'm coming towards the end of my cord, my row. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and then do a cluster of 3 double crochets in this stitch. 2 and 3. And then we go directly into the very last one. 1, 2, 3. This is the last chain, and this is going to get, since we had a valley here, we're going to do a peak. So 1, 2, 3, and then we chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and in the same we are going to do 1, 2, 3. So always our very last stitch is going to get a cluster of 3 plus another cluster of 3. So our last stitch is going to be like this always. Now we are done with our very first row. You can say this is the foundation row, because this is the most important row, and it will help you form this shape so that your outfit is actually having these waves. Okay, so we are gonna go on to the next row. When you're starting every row, we will always chain 5. So you chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you turn your work. And when you are starting, we will always place a cluster of 3 double crochets in this chain 3 space. So the first one gets only one cluster of 3 double crochets, 2 and 3. And then once you're done with the cluster, you will go directly into the next. So go directly into the next space and do a cluster of 1, 2 and 3 double crochets. Once you're done with that, you will go into the next one and do 1, 2 and 3. So once you have that, always remember we need 1, 2, 3 to get to the other side. So this is what I mean by a side. This part gets 3 and this part gets 3. So once you will realize we have this valley here and we need to maintain it. So we are not going to go into this space. You will skip this space and go into the next, directly into the next like this. So 1, 2 and 3. So this is what we have done. We have skipped this part completely and gone to this other side. Okay, and now we are going to go into the next and give it 3 double crochets, 2 and 3, and then we go directly into this chain 3 space. Remember, this is a peak, and do 2 clusters separated by chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. That is the first cluster of 3 double crochets, and then I'm going to chain 3, and then in the very same I'm going to add 3 double crochets. That is another cluster of 3 double crochets like that. So this is what you should be having. Remember, in this one we only did 3, but starting here we are doing cluster of 3 separated by a chain 3 in the middle. So we are maintaining that shape going forward. So I want to do another up to here, and then I let you go ahead and work that on your own. So this is what you do. I'm going to place 3 double crochets here, 3 double crochets here, and then skip this part, go directly into that. So once you have 1, 2, 3, it's time to skip. We will have to skip this part always, and then go into this. So once you have that, the next part is going to get the same. So basically this is what we're doing, and I'm going to work off camera until I get to the end. I will show you how we are closing at the end, and then we will go forth and work a color change. So once you get to this part, the very last stitch where we have a chain 5, we are going to go in with the first cluster. Remember, this is a peak, so we do the first cluster of 3 double crochets, and then we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the same chain 5 space, we are going to work another granny stitch like that. So that represents a peak. Remember, we are having a peak, a valley, a peak, a valley, so we needed this peak. Now I am going to get rid of this color and introduce my next color, which is this gorgeous. So I'm going to cut this and show you how you will introduce your next color. So I always do a slip knot and then just insert it in our previous and then pull the loops, both of them, and tie these two together. Once I have that secured, I am going to chain 5. Always chain 5 at the beginning of the row. So chain 5 and then turn your work, and in the first chain 3 space we are going to work 1 granny stitch. So 2 and 3, and then we go to the next space, which is this, and do a granny stitch. 1, 2 and 3. We are just repeating row 2. Remember how we worked row 2? That is what we are repeating. And then we go to the next space and work a granny stitch. Once we have that granny stitch in, we are going to skip this one because it's a valley, and then go into the next and work a granny stitch. Remember, each side has to have 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we work another 3 on this side before we get to the peak. 1, 2 and 3. And then once we have that, we are going to go directly in here and work 1, 2, 3, chain 3, and then work another 3. 1, 2, 3. So we're just going we're going to repeat row 2 as we change colors until we build up to our hips. So this is going to be the length from the floor all the way until you hit the hips, actually almost at the waist area. So get that measurement, and then as you work up, just ensure that you're working towards your hips all the way up towards your waist. And then we will do a little bit of reducing because the waist has to be snatched, and then we'll work towards completion. So continue working and I will meet you once I attain my the measurements that I'm going to work with. Okay. So this is what we are working to achieve, and actually this is the other panel, and as you can see I worked a reduction here at the waist area. So we want to see how to go about that. So at the moment I have been working my other panel and I am at this rust burnt orange part. Let me show you. So with the current panel, this is where we are. As you can see, I'm yet to cut all the hanging threads. It's a menace, but I will do that once we are done with everything. So the next thing that we need to do is to start working that reduction at the waist so that it doesn't really appear bulky when the client wears it or when you wear it, because yarn can tend to be so bulky. I'm going to show you how to reduce, and then we will also increase towards the bust area, as you can see from the other panel that I constructed, and then we will work towards the shoulders. So yeah, so what I have worked right now is the distance from the floor, because this dress goes up to the floor, all the way to the butt, okay, the hips. Now from there we want to reduce as we approach the waist, and then trend to increase as we work towards the bust, and then we will reduce a few inches as we work towards the shoulders. So for the reduction row, you know how we've been doing the rows normally, and we are finishing with the 2 clusters with a chain 3 in the middle. But now we are not going to be doing that. We've been doing that on each and every end of row. On each and every end of row, you can see here there's 2, here there's 2, like we've been doing that. But now to reduce, we are going to reduce a whole cluster like that. We'll get rid of that, do away with it completely. And instead of now having like 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 as always, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll have 3. Okay, so once you do that, that means we have reduced, and then we will chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as always, and then turn our work and do a cluster here, 1, 2 and 3, and then do another 1, 2 and 3. You can see we have 2 instead of 3, and once we have that, we are going to skip this part as always and then go to the other side and work the 3 that we always work. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2 and 3, and then we go to the peak, and at the peak we just insert the 2 clusters as always, separated by 3 chains. 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this part we have reduced, and instead of it having 1, 2, 3, like as always we've always had 1, 2, 3, it's going to have only 1, 2 because we did a reduction here. So after you chain the 3, you're going to do another cluster, 1, 2 and 3. So I'm going to continue off camera, and I will meet you at the end of the row also. What you do on one side should also apply on the other side. So we're also going to do just one cluster, that is a granny square on this side and not a peak. So we are going to be, at this moment I have a total of 6 peaks. Let me zoom in. I have a total of 6 peaks, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By the end of this reducing, I'll have gotten rid of this peak, and I'll only be with 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks. Okay, so I am going to cut this yarn because we need to attach the next color, which is white, at that point. So I'm going to grab my white yarn and start from here, and you'll notice instead of having 3 as always, we've always had 1, 2, 3, we will only have 2, which will be right here, and then we skip to this and continue working. Okay, so as always, make a slip knot and insert that yarn right there and tighten everything. We are chaining 5, so, and then go in here and do the first cluster, go to the next and do the next cluster, And then you realize we need to skip this part and go to the other side. So I'm going to work the row normally until I get to the other side, okay? So we are working towards the end of this row, and as you can see, we have just 2. Okay, so we're going to skip the valley as always and then go directly into this space and work a granny stitch, 2 and 3, okay, and then go directly to this part, the chain 5 space, and we're not going to work 2 clusters, but we will just work 1. Okay, now you will notice that we only have 1 space. At least in the previous one we had 2, but this time round we only have 1. So what we're going to do is, as always, we always chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can actually see our work has started to curve, meaning we are on the right track with the reducing. So once you have that, you are going to put a granny stitch at that one spot, 2 and 3, and then we skip the valley as always and go directly into the next side and work a granny stitch, 2 and 3, like that. See how we're reducing. So the next part will just go directly into this chain 5 space, okay? So let me continue working the row as I normally would off camera, and then I will come back as we are completing this row. I'm coming towards the end of the row, and I'm gonna put a granny stitch in this chain 5 space. At that point we are done with that row, and we're going to grab the next color, which is maroon. Make a slip knot and insert here. So I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and turn my work, and we will only put 1. So 1, 2, and 3, and then skip the valley and go directly to the other side and work a cluster, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So I'm going to continue with the row until I get to the end, and I will meet you there. Now towards the end of this row, at this point is where we completely get rid of this part, this peak, and this is how we do it. After you're done with the 3, 1, 2, 3 on this side, we are going to go directly into this chain 5 space, and we will only slip stitch in there. Instead of putting a cluster there, we will just slip stitch and make it a part of this peak, okay? So what we do after we have done that is chain 3. Instead of 5, we're chaining 3 and turn your work. And now we are only going to work on this part. So you place a cluster here, 1, 2 and 3, and then go directly into the next and work 3, 2 and 3, and then go directly into the peak and work those. Chain 3 and work another cluster, and from here you can continue working those clusters until you get to the end of the row. Okay, so we are done with reducing. We are going to now maintain the number of clusters that we have, or rather the number of stitches on each and every row, until we get to the part where we will be increasing to get to the bust. So, but just stay with me until we get to this part and I show you how we are going to also change color and get rid of this part. So on this part also, you will just slip stitch in the chain 5, chain 1, and cut your yarn. Now, let's zoom in. We can see we have gotten rid of this peak and this peak, and we are only having 1, 2, 3, and 4. So going forward, we are going to work with this for a couple of rows. Let me show you. So this is the part where we are at, and we're going to maintain that until we get to the white. I actually see where I have started increasing is at this burnt orange. So we'll maintain the number until we start increasing on the next, and then we will also reduce. So yeah, but at the moment we're here. So once you get to start this row, we are going to be chaining 3 since we are going to maintain. So you chain 3 and then you turn your work, and now we are going to go directly into this stitch and do a cluster. So 1, 2, 3, and then go into the next and do a cluster, 2 and 3. You see, we are sort of maintaining this straight line, and then we go to the peak and do 2 clusters as always, chain 3, and then do another cluster. So we're going to continue with the row until we get to the other side, but this is how the beginning should be looking like. Now after you're done with this part, you're going to go directly into the chain 3 space that we made and slip stitch in there, and then we're going to chain 3. This is how you'll be starting the rows. Chain 3 and then go into the next space and do a cluster of 3 double crochets. So we have started the next row. So we're going to continue and do the row just as you normally would, and at this point we are going to do the chain 3 and then do another cluster and go straight into the next space and continue working. So you will just work the row normally, and then you will change color and continue working as many rows as you would want to achieve the waist part. So I'm going to do another 2 with the nude and then also do white, and we'll start increasing from the maroon. So this is the row where we'll start doing our increases, and as you know, we have been doing things at the end of the row. So I've done my first row of maroon, and this is how we're going to increase. Remember the chain 3 that we were doing, and previously we've just been slip stitching here and chaining 3 to start the next row. So what we are going to do on this one is we are going to do a cluster over here. This is like an addition, so we are adding 1 cluster. So instead of them being 1 2 3, they're gonna be 4, and we will chain 1, and in the same chain 3 space we will add another double crochet. I will show you why. So we will add another double crochet like that, and then we are going to chain 1 2 3 4 5, and then turn our work, and in the chain 1 space that we created, we are going to do, remember we are going back to our chain 5s. Remember previously we were chaining 5 just before we started reducing. Now we are going back to chaining 5, and at the chain 1 space we are going to do a cluster. So I'm going to do 3 2 and 3 right there. We have started another row, okay? And remember how we were creating those valleys? We used to skip this space here. So I'm going to go directly into the next space with my granny stitch, okay? So that means we have started going towards another peak, and the next part that we will do, we will come and do a peak in this chain 5 space. But at the moment we are just going to continue working the side normally, so it has to have 3. So this is the second one, so this is 2 and 3, and then we go directly into the chain 3 space and do another granny stitch. So this is 1 2 3. I hope that is clear. And then we chain 3 1 2 3 and go directly inside that chain 3 space and do another granny stitch. Now we have just created a peak, and I'm going to continue until I get to the other side, where we will also introduce another stitch on this part. Do on one side, we should do on the next side so that they mirror. And I'm going to do a granny stitch in this chain 3 space that we did just before when we were starting the row, and then we're going to chain 1 and do a double crochet, and then we have come towards the end of that yarn, so we will cut and introduce the next color, which is the burnt orange. Now when we are working the next color, we will just do our slip knot as always. We have always done a slip knot, and then insert the yarn in this loop and tighten them both, okay? So once it's tight on your hook like that, you can tie these two and then continue with the chain 5. So I'm going to chain 5 1 2 3 4 5, and then turn my work, and as I turn my work, I'm going to make a cluster. So that is 2 and 3, just as we did on the other side, 3, and then skip this space, which is going to be our valley, and go directly into that space and work 3 double crochets, okay, like that. So I'm going to continue working the row normally, and then I'll meet you at the end of it. So when you get to this part, since we already have our valley and we need to create a peak, I am going to go directly into this space and make 1 2 and 3. That is the first granny stitch, and then we are going to chain 3 and do another cluster in the same chain 5 space, 2 and 3. So at that moment we are done, and we are going to chain 5 and turn our work. So I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then I will turn my work and insert a cluster in this one. So 1, 2 and 3. As you can see, it's just as we were beginning, and then I will go directly into this and work 2 and 3, like that. Okay, so I'm going to continue working the row normally. 3, and then go to the peak and work the peak as we have been working peaks. So 3 double crochets, chain 3, and then 3 double crochets in the same. So it's time we need to do some check-in with measurements and see exactly what we are doing. So if I measure here, it's actually around 19 inches, but can stretch to 20 either way. Although I do not want to increase further, because my client's measurement should actually be around 17, 18, but it's no worry, because I'm sure she's going to layer this piece. So if you're going to increase further, you can go ahead and increase more, but for me, I will just end my increases at that point, and then I will not increase anymore, because if I do increase anymore, it will be a bigger piece. So I have maintained my stitches on this row, and also on the white one, and I want to start reducing towards the shoulder so that it matches the shoulder to shoulder measurement. We wouldn't want our dress to be hanging on a person. So as we have done before, we are always reducing towards the end of the row. So I'm going to work the row in maroon until I get to this point, and then we will reduce just as we have been reducing from this part. We will apply the same method. So I'm going to chain 5 as always, 4, 5, and then turn my work and do 1 cluster in this chain 3 space, so a total of 3 double crochets, and then I will go directly to this part and do my next cluster. So those are 3 double crochets, and continue working the double crochets, the granny stitches, until I get to the end of the row. You get to this part, you will go directly into the chain 5 and do a slip stitch, because we want to start reducing. And now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn our work. And now, since we've gotten rid of the small peak that we had started making, and now we are going to go directly into this space and do a granny stitch, 2 and 3, and then go into the next and make a granny stitch, and then continue working just as we normally would, and then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and go into the next with a granny stitch. So I'm gonna continue with the same until I get to the other side. Okay, so at this point, once you're done with the 3, you are going to go directly into this chain 5 space, because we are getting rid of this valley. You go into the chain 5 space and slip stitch, and then we're going to chain, okay, with the other yarn, because we need to change colors. So we're going to chain 3, because this is the area where we're reducing. Instead of chaining 5, we chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then we are going to go into this space and continue working the row where we have 3 double crochets, which is a granny stitch, and then we go to the next with another granny stitch and continue working the row until you get to the end. One, two, three, and do another cluster in that chain 3 space, which is a peak. And then you continue working the row until we get to the other side. This is the panel that we are working on, and as you can see, it still has the peaks, but we need to remove the peaks to a point that we will have a flat surface like this one, so that we can attach where the neck will be. Okay, so for the next colors, that is this and this white, we are going to do, I'm going to show you how we will remove the peaks, and then now we can add the white. And for the white, you see I have left a cutout, so this is where our neck is going to be. Okay, after you attach your yarn, we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then go into the next and make a granny stitch, that is 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And then just before we enter the peak here, we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then go into the peak, 1, 2, and 3 double crochets. Okay, and then we are going to chain 3 also. So before and after the peak, we are doing 3 chains, but in between the rest of the spaces, we shall not be doing the chains. So after you have done that, we're just trying to soften the landing for the next row. Now after this, you go directly into the next and do 1, 2, and 3. Go into the next here at the valley where we initially we weren't working in them, but at this point we are also going to work in it. So work 3, a total of 3 double crochets, and then go into the next with 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Remember, we are not chaining in between. And then go into the next with 3, 1, 2, and 3. And since the next one is this peak, we are going to chain 1, 2, 3 and work just one cluster of 3 double crochets and not 2 as we've always done. So we're going to chain 3 also, and then go into the next space and work a granny stitch, 3, and then go into the next and work a granny stitch, 1, 2, and 3, and then go into the valley, the next space, and work a granny stitch, 3, go into the next and work 1, 2, and 3, and then go into the next also and 3, and then right here we're going to chain 3 and then enter this part with 3 double crochets, and then work another 3 chains, and then go into the next with a granny stitch. So just before and after we are working, Before and after we are working 3 double crochets, but the rest of them we are not doing the three chains, I mean. So I'm going to stop here. I won't work in this space, but we're going to now chain 1, 2, 3 and turn our work. Okay, once you turn your work, you're going to place 3 double crochets, 2 and 3 in this space. Actually, we needed to chain 5, sorry, I chained 2, 3, so we're going to chain 5 and then work 3 double crochets in this one. And then now we're going to be working 3 double crochets in each and every, just 3 double crochets without any chains. One, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3. So this is what you should be having. We are not chaining anything, we're just going to go directly into the next without chaining. So now we go to the next and place 3 double crochets. So we were just working 3 double crochets in each and every space. So far this is what we should be having. Okay, so I'm not going to go into this chain 3 space that we started with. I will just end my row here. Remember, we are trying to flatten everything, and now you can cut and attach your final color. Mine is color white. Okay, so I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then turn and place a granny stitch in each and every space. So I will turn my work, and at this point our work has really started to flatten. This white color, the final color, should actually be just straight. As you can see, you can't even tell there was a peak here or a valley here. And yeah, and the next row is going to be our final row. So this is how flat our work is. Okay, so we're going to place the last stitch in this chain 5 space that we worked on this side, and we are done with that row. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to get the measurements of this part. Mine is about 18 inches and I need to leave 11 inches out. So I'm going to do six stitches, or rather 6 granny squares on this side and 6 granny squares on this side, leaving a space in between. Okay, so I'm just going to chain 3, turn my work, and then work my first granny 1, work the second, 2, 3. So once we have the 6 in, 1 2 3 4 5 6, we are going to cut that yarn. And if I measure, this is going to be the shoulder seam, so mine is about 6 inches of shoulder. So we go to the other side also and try see how we are going to get the 6 in. I'm going to start from the chain 3 space and just work a total of 6. Okay, so we're going to chain 2 and work 2 more double crochets in there, and then we go to the next and work I'm going to continue till I have 6 of them. So after working, the part that's remaining here is around 8 inches. Yeah, so this part is going to be the neck. Okay, so I'm going to cut this yarn, and at this point we are done with one of the panels, and you're going to go ahead and work the same thing. Let me put it on the carpet and show you at a wider angle how everything looks. So this is our panel. This is where we started from, and we've worked up. We have shaped the waist, and now we've been shaping this part over here. And you can see very well the white is having just 1 row, and the next row is the 6 that we did are right here, leaving the neck, and that's what we have. So far, this is how gorgeous the pattern is. Okay. So now I have my panels on top of each other, the right sides facing, because I need to work on the wrong side. The seam has to be worked on the wrong side. I did not cut my second panel's yarn, so I'm going to use that white yarn to attach the shoulder seam and also attach on this other side on the shoulder seam. Okay, and then for the rest of it, I'm thinking that I need to use the mildest color. I will use the nude to do the side seams. I just feel like I should, but for you, you can choose whichever color that you want to use. Okay, so I've used single crochet to work this seam on one side, and I'm going to do the same on this other side. I'm using single crochets. Now this is how the seam looks like on the right side. I have worked this seam and also the seam on this side, and then I went ahead to do a row of single crochets on the neck part, because I just believe in finishing things all at once without cutting yarn. So after finishing the seam here, actually here, I just went ahead straight and did a row of single crochets on top of each and every stitch, and then I've completed it here. And since I have this yarn, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it, because I believe in tying loose ends as you go. So this is how the shoulder seam looks like. I need to also weave in these ends, because as you notice, I've been weaving in my ends as I work this dress, because whoa, if you don't do that, they will accumulate and it will be a lot discouraging. So this is how the shoulder seams are looking like, and I'm going to go ahead and do the side seam. But before I do that, I need to map where my sleeve will be. The sleeve is going to be around here, and then the rest of the dress will get that side seam. So when it comes to the sleeve, that is, we're going to do the same thing just as we have done with the panels of the dress. But at this point, I chained 60, that is 54, which is a multiple of 18, plus 6 to give you 60. And this 60, if I measure from here, it's giving me a total of 15 inches. And this is exactly what I wanted for my armhole. So you're going to do just the same pattern as we have done for the panels, and then when you get here you will also start to flatten. I have started to flatten mine, and you're going to work your sleeve the length that you desire. My length is around 23, and it comes up to this first color, which is maroon, which is not a bad thing. I am also going to use that to join that to my dress. So this is what I have at this point, and I'm going to join this to the dress. I started from here. This is going to be where the fingers are, and this is where the armhole is, and I will flatten this area and attach it to the dress. So I ran out of time and I couldn't film how I did the seams, but as you can see in this video, I have joined the panels together and I used single crochets. I am using the mildest color, that is the nude, so that it's not so visible. I used single crochet, so you just put 2 single crochets in each and every row as you move forward. I know that is going to be easy. If you have made this dress to this point, you have no excuse for not completing it. I mean, this is the masterpiece that we have created together, and thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I'm going to see you in many more videos, and if you have made this dress, please share with me on Instagram. My name is Marion Crochets, and I am so grateful that you keep coming back for tutorials. And if this is your first time here, please consider to subscribe to my YouTube channel.